Hello everyone, welcome to our new project video. In this video, we are going to build a very unique project, guys. As you can see, here is my skin. It's look like VS Code, but it's not actually. It is a website. It is a portfolio website that we are going to build in this video. What we have used to build this website? We have used Tailwind CSS, Framer Motion, TypeScript, and React, guys. So I'll show you the functionality. So if I'm clicking here skill section, as you can see here, the explore file and folder is changing. So here is the DevOps folder, right? So I'm clicking here, DevOps folder is opening, right? So I'm selecting any file. Here is I'm selecting another file, right? So I can able to do this thing, and I can toggle any file, right? Open and close. There we go. I can select here the about me. Here is about me, right? So you can write about yourself. So I write a demo. Here is the get in touch section where basically your client contact with you, and it is also responsive, guys. So I'm clicking inspect element and trying to check all device. So as you can see, let's select iPhone 14. As you can see, it's not look so bad, as you can see, guys. So you can able to build all this functionality after end of this video. So stick around with me and don't forget to subscribe my channel, because your subscription make me happy to create such a quality content. Alright everybody, in order to create our project, we are gonna be use Tailwind CSS documentation. As you can see, here is the instruction we are gonna be follow in order to create our React app. So let's go ahead and try to copy. So I'm going to copy this npm, and I'm going to paste it over here. And after that, I would like to just rename, instead of my project, I'm going to say here, so let's say VS Code, something like that, and then I'll hit enter. So after hit enter, it will create our React app. And as you can see, they ask me to generate React is built solid app Angular. So I'm going to select React and hit enter. After that, they ask me to generate TypeScript or JavaScript app. I'm going to use TypeScript. Let's hit enter. And as you can see, so I'm going to follow this documentation. So in order to install Tailwind CSS, let's go ahead and try to install CSS. So copy and paste it over here and hit enter, and let's see. As you can see, guys, our installation has been done. Now if you take a look here, here is the VS Code, but there is a no Tailwind config file. We need to generate Tailwind config file. In order to generate Tailwind config file, I need to type Tailwind CSS init-v, and it will generate Tailwind config file. As you can see, guys, Tailwind config file created, and inside this Tailwind config.js, I would like to do some sort of editing. As you can see, here is the thing I'm going to add. So if you ask me why I'm adding this content, index.html and src and tsx directory, because whenever we are giving style inside this src folder, and this extension file will be style. Otherwise, it might be an issue whenever we add Tailwind CSS inside this file. They might not get supported. So that is why we have added here. All right. After that, we need to copy, and let's go ahead and try to paste it over index.css file, and app.css, that's gonna be deleted or keep it empty. And let's go ahead and try to app.tss file. So let's just run our application and see how it's look like. npm run dev. This is our app look like, guys. So I'm gonna be remove everything. So let's remove everything, and we are going to add a div here. So div class name, and so let's add breezy color, breezy gray 900. After that, I would like to add height, that's gonna be screen, and then text, that's going to be, let's say, white. And let's go ahead and create a folder that's going to be component, and inside this folder I'm going to create a file that's going to be sidebar.tsx, and we are gonna be generate here RFC functional component. So I'm going to convert it arrow function. So let's convert it, and we are going to add here arrow function since we are using TypeScript. So let's add React and dot fc function, and side, that's going to be sidebar. Also we have to edit this file, so that's going to be sidebar. There we go. And inside this sidebar I'd like to add a class name, and inside this class name let's add a width, let's say 60, and I'm going to add a background color, so breezy gray, let's say 800, and height, that's gonna be screen, and I'm going to add a display, that's gonna be flex, and flex, keep it like this. After that I would like to add here icons, or just add here ace 1 or 2. For now let's say sidebar, and save it. Inside this app I would like to add here sidebar from sidebar. There we go. Now as you can see, here is my sidebar, so look like this. And inside this sidebar, what we have to add here icons. So in order to add icons, we need to install one packages. Let's install one package, which is Lucid React. So npm I for install Lucid, and that's gonna be React. As you can see, our package has been installed. Now we are going to use here Lucid React icon. So here is the code icon and user icon and email icon. In order to use this icon, what we have to do, and here I'm going to use Lucid icon. So let's go ahead and try to use Lucid icon. So I'm going to use an array, that's going to be sidebar items, and inside this sidebar items I'm going to add here object, and that's going to be icon, an icon which will be, let's say, file icon, and that's going to be file. And I'm going to add here size, and size, let's say 24 pixel. And after that we need to add here id, and id, let's going to be project. And after that I would like to add here label, and which will be, let's say, project. And this is our icon. So I would like to add 3 more here. As you can see, guys, I have added here code icon, user icon, and mail icon. Now I would like to get code icon from Lucid React, user icon from Lucid React, mail icon from Lucid React. And here is my sidebar items. Now I can easily map sidebar item inside this return statement. So I'm going to use map, and inside this map what we have to do, let's add a arrow function. And after that I would like to add here a button, and that's gonna be in, and inside this button I'm going to add here item, and inside this arrow function that will receive item I'm going to add here item, and item, that's gonna be icon. Right, here is the icon. If I save it, As you can see guys, here is my icon. But in order to fix this thing, we have added here flex, and that's gonna be flex call, and now looks good. I'm going to add here padding by 4. Now looks good. Items, that's gonna be center. There we go. And inside this button icon, I would like to add here a class name, and I'm going to add some style, and p, let's say add here 3, and that's gonna be padding going to be 3 in both. As you can see, now looks good. After that, I would like to add margin bottom, and that's going to be 2, and round it, let's say lg. There we go. Now as you can see, it looks good. But whenever I'm hovering here, as you can see, scaling the icon. So in order to add this scaling and animation functionality, we need to use one packages, which is Framer Motion. So if you search here Framer Motion, then you will get it. As you can see, here is the Framer Motion. I would like to recommend you to follow this documentation and read it before starting with me, or you can start with me. You can learn all the things. So I'm going to use quick start React, and as you can see, I'm going to install Framer Motion. So let's clear and put it here. Oops. So as you can see guys, installation is done. Let's clear it. Now I'm gonna be use Framer Motion here, and there we go. Now we can easily use, here is the button, and inside this button I'm going to add here motion. As you can see, it has add automatically, and inside this motion I'm going to add here, let's say while hover. As you can see, and whenever we hover, then what we want to add here, we can define here, let's say scaling. Scale, that's gonna be 1.9. If I save it and go over, as you can see, it's scaling whenever I'm hovering. So right now it's scaling, but instead of adding 1.9, I'm going to add 1.1. So now as you can see, it's literally scaling. Or I can add here 1.2. So now this looks good. After that, I'm going to add while tap, and then I would like to add here is scale, and a scale which will be 0.95, and now looks good. But whenever I'm clicking one of them, it's not active, right? We need to add active style. As you can see, whenever I'm clicking, here is the active style, and we want to add the active functionality. In order to add active functionality, we need to add here on click. Inside this on click, I need to add the active. So what we'll get active from as a prop. We can define here active tab and set active tab, and since we have added here active tab, we need to define interface, and that's going to be, let's say, sidebar and props. There we go. And inside this interface, I would like to add here active tab, and that's going to be a string, and set active tab, which will be a function, right? So set active tab, this is gonna be a function which accept tab, and let's add here void. That's it guys. Now we can easily use sidebar props here. Now error is gone, but let's go ahead and try to use set active tab here. I'm going to use here a function. Let's add a callback function, and inside this function add set active tab, and inside this set active tab I'm going to select item.id, and here I'm going to add a key. That's gonna be item.id. After that, what we have to do, since we have added here active tab, set active tab. We need to define here. As you can see, I'm getting error, TypeScript error. We need to add here. So I'm going to just copy active. This is going to be active, and set active tab, which will be set active tab. And here I would like to say project. This project, guys, this ID I'm defining here initially. Now I'm going to pass here as a props and active tab. So let's go ahead and try to do. Now error is gone. Here is the error is gone. Now I'd like to use this active tab here. So if I take a look here, as you can see, it is already activating, guys, but we cannot see. So in order to view this thing, we have to add conditionally style, and this class we are going to convert this class. Let's use backtick over here and backtick here, and after that I would like to add here active tab. And this active tab, if this active tab, then equal temp dot id, then I'm going to add some style. So let's say add here bg gonna be blue 600, and text gonna be white. Text going to be white. And after that I would like to add another style, which will be text that's gonna be gray 400. And whenever I'm hovering, then text gonna be white. This is the style we're going to add conditionally. Now as you can see, this email is activating, this code is activate, and this project is activate. Now this activation is working right now. And if you take a look here, as you can see on the bottom, there is a LinkedIn and GitHub icon. We are going to add this icon as well. In order to add this icon, I'm going to add a div class name, and inside this div, what we have to do, we just need to get a motion dot a, and inside this motion we are going to add the icons, GitHub icons. That's going to be GitHub, right, which is coming from Lucid React. And I'm going to define here size, that's gonna be 24, and there you go, as you can see. But here I would like to add style. Let's say href, where it will be this link, and after that I'm going to add here target, and then we can add here reel, and after that we can add here while hover. Then we can add here scaling. Let's say scale, that's gonna be 1.2, and that's it. And finally we can add class name and p, that's padding 3, text that's going to be, let's say gray, and that's gonna be 400, and hover, that's going to be text and white. Oops, text white. After that display, that's going to be block, and margin bottom, let's add here 2, as you can see, guys. And we are gonna be replace it here. As you can see, now it looks good. And for LinkedIn, we're gonna add the same thing. So just copy paste over here. Instead of GitHub, I'm going to add here LinkedIn, and which is coming from Lucid React. As you can see, it will be same, and there we go. Now looks good. But how we can put in bottom? So to do this thing, we need to add margin top, that's gonna be auto. Very simple, as you can see. Now it looks good. So our sidebar is complete. Now what we can see, whenever in Brig skin, so as I show you, so whenever I'm clicking here, as you can see this section, and here changing the explore file and folder structure, and for this section, so we are gonna be work for this section right now. So initially this is our project, so now we are going to work for this section. So this is our content section, right? Oops. In order to work this content section, we need to create a file that's going to be, let's say, content.tsx. And inside this file, I'm going to write RFC function. Let's convert it a row function. And there we go. And that's going to be a React functional component, React.fc. And I'm going to create another file that's going to be explore. Inside this file, I'm going to add the same function explore, and that's gonna be an arrow function. And inside this function, I'm going to add a class name. So let's add here width, not width, I'm going to add here breezy gray, let's say 800. And after that, I would like to add ace, that's gonna be screen, and overflow y gonna be auto. And inside this div, I'm going to create another div, and that's gonna be explore. And let's create another div inside this div, explore. And here I'm going to add p2, and inside this explore, let's add text, that's gonna be sm, and that's going to be uppercase tracking, which will be wider or wide. And text, I'm going to add here gray. And let's go ahead and try to save. And inside this app.tsx, I would like to get explore, which is coming from component, something like that. After adding this thing, as you can see here is added explore section, but we don't want. In order to fix this thing, initially we have to add here, oops, display going to be flex. If I add here flex, as you can see here is the explore. But inside this sidebar, here I have added here breezy gray 800, so I'm going to add here 900. As you can see, now looks good. Here is the explore. Now content section, and we are gonna keep this explorer in this way, and we are gonna be work for content, then later we're gonna be work for this explore section. Inside this content, we need to add a class name, and I'm going to give style. What style we wanna give here? Before giving style, here I'd like to say, if you take a look here, here is my project. So right now here is 2 column, right? So for a small screen, 1 column. To do that, what we have to do, we need to use display grid, right? I have a full video about display grid, how work. You can check it out. I'll give the link on card or description. And grid, how many columns we want? We want 2 columns, right? Then we need to set 2, and for 2 what? 2 column will be MD for big screen, and a small screen we want to say grid calls 1, right? That's it. And we are gonna be add here gap 2, keep it just like this, and padding, that's gonna be 6. And inside this, I'm going to add here project. So what is here? Here is an image and h2 and p tag, and also here is an array, just like the tag name. And here is to link. We can create an array of object and map it. That's gonna be very simple, right? So to do this thing, what we have to do inside this src, I would like to create a file that's gonna be data, and inside this data folder, I'm going to create a file that's gonna be project.ts, and the project.tx look like this, guys. So if you take a look here, as you can see, here is the project.ts. So here is the, we have added here TypeScript type. So we need to create another file that's gonna be type. Inside this src, I'm gonna be create type file. Insert this type folder, sorry, I'm gonna be create a file that's going to be, let's say, index.ts, and here I would like to define here types. As you can see, here is the project types. So let's add the types. So what is the thing is available here is the title, description, technology, GitHub URL, image, live URL, and images. So here what we have to do, we need to say export interface. That's going to be, let's say, project, and which will be title. Title, that's gonna be a string. After that, description, which will be string, and it will be just like this, guys. So description is string, technology, that's gonna be string, and also an array, and GitHub URL string, and that's gonna be optional, and live URL string optional, image gonna be string. And inside this project, I'm going to save, and it says did not find. In order to find, let's just see. As you can see, now it will get that thing. Right now we have a project here, pretty simple. Let's click here, and inside this content I would like to do the map. So let's create the project which is coming data touch, and I'm going to use map here, and that's gonna be, let's say, project, and index, that's gonna be an callback function, and inside this callback function I'm going to add all the things. So here let's add a div, just like div, and div gonna be in, and inside this div here let's add a class name, and we're gonna be add a class bridge, that's going to be gray 400, not 400, it's gonna be 800, and rounded gonna be full. There we go, our LG, and overflow, that's gonna be hidden. And inside this I'm gonna be use the images, guys. Here is the image that I would like to use, project image and project title as a alt tag. And if I save it, we need to get the content in order to view. So content, which is coming from content, as you can see, here is 3 images right now. And then we are going to add the title. Here is the image, and here I'm going to add a div plus, and inside this div I'm going to add a padding 4. And after that I would like to add here title, description, and tag. And here what we have to do, it says the error is not gone. The issue is here, we need to get this div, and now issue will be gone because we have added 2 div here. And then we need to add here div class name and p4. After that, let's int the div. There you go. Yes, div will be here. Here I'm going to add a div, and that's going to be int. And then inside this div, let's add something, which is just like this. There we go. What we have added here is the div. We have added here h3, that's gonna be title, p, that's gonna be description, and the project dot technology. If you take a look here, project, as you can see, technology is our array, and we have mapped all array and use as a tag. If I save it, and as you can see, here is the cool thing. After that, what we have to do, we need to add the GitHub URL. In order to add the URL, we are gonna be add here another div that's gonna be class name, and which will be flex, and gap gonna be 4. And inside this div, this is our div, right? And I'm going to add here project dot github URL, and if project.github URL, then we're going to add here anchor tag, and inside this anchor tag I would like to add here GitHub, which is coming from Lucid React. So GitHub Lucid React, and I'm going to add here class name margin right, which will be 1, and I'm going to add here size, and let's say 40 or 50, just like this, and then that's going to be int. And inside this anchor tag, I'm going to add a class name also. So if I add here, as you can see guys, it's look not so good. We need to add some sort of style. So as you can see guys, our error is gone. Now it looks good on big screen. So it looks similar, not similar. There is still a space. So we need to fix this thing. In order to fix this thing, there is the call 1, git calls gaps, padding 6, everything we have added. And let's try to check once again and see. We are gonna be convert this div guys to motion. Let's convert it. Here is the div that's gonna be motion dot, and motion which is coming from motion, right? And let's get it. There we go. So we have added here div class motion, and there you go. But as you can see, it still has an issue. So in order to fix this issue, there you go, we need to just, and here I'm going to add here, let's say motion dot div, and after that inside this div I'm going to add here init. Here I'm going to render the thing, but here let's add a function that's gonna be const render project, just like this, and it's gonna be an arrow function. Inside this render project, I'm going to paste it here. Is there any return statement? There is no return statement. So I'm going to return, and after that, let's paste it over here. Don't need to add the return here. So now we can easily render project, use here. This is our last time return guys. So render project, there we go, and that's gonna be wrap inside this thing. Now it looks good. We are gonna be add here class name, and that's gonna be, let's say flex 1, and after that, as you can see, now it looks not so good. Let's add overflow, that's going to be auto, and bg gray 900, and text gray, let's say 100, and inside this project I'm going to say overflow hidden. Now as you can see, it looks good. So in small screen, so we have an issue. The issue is we just render here everything. So instead of return here, so we have added here motion.div and class name, which is flex1, overflow auto, and breezy gray, text gray 100, and we render the render project, the full design, full render project we render inside this return statement. So we separated a file which is render project because we are facing an issue. I don't know what is the best solution, but I have tried this solution, but you can try yourself your solution if you find useful, or you can add this div there. But okay, Now the issue is whenever I'm refreshing, guys, we can see here nothing is reflecting, right? So nothing is reflecting. So whenever I'm going to refresh, then what we'll do, we are just hidden this part, and if reload or load, then we can show this part. To do this thing, we can use motion, since we are using motion, guys. To do this thing, what we have to do, we need to add a variable which will be content variant, and inside this content variant I'm going to add here hidden, and which will be opacity, and opacity, let's say 0, and x, that's going to be -20, and after that I would like to add here visible, and here we are gonna be add opacity which will be 1, and x which will be 0. That's it. Now we are going to use this content variant inside this div. Let's add here initially that's going to be hidden, and after that when animate, animate, I'm going to add here visible, and variant, I'm going to add the variant. You can find the variant in motion dev documentation, guys, if you follow this documentation. And inside this variant I'm going to use this content variant. That's it. And we are going to add here transition, let's say delay, and which will be index. We can multiplication to 0.1, and which is the, where is the index? There is no index, so we cannot add here the. Now if I refresh, as you can see, initially it's hidden this part only, this content is hidden initially, and everything is same, but this part is hidden. So this is so cool, guys. And inside this project content I would like to add the same thing as well. Key project.title, initially hidden, animated visible, variant, content variant, transition, here we have added here. Now looks good, as you can see. So if I save it, a little bit animating, oops, now looks good. Refresh, everything is working fine. But if I click here, as you can see, there is a no other project is there. So every time this project is here, so we need to change conditionally, right? To do this thing we need to add one thing, which is, let's add some more project. For skill we need to add a skill section. So here is the skill section, right? Right now if you take a look here, if I'm selecting this part till this project component here, so we need to render this 3 component conditionally. To do this thing, what we have to do here, we need to add a function. Let's render content, something like that, and inside this function, this is going to be a callback function, and I'm going to add here switch statement. As you can see, here is the switch statement. So that's key going to be, let's say, active tab, and which is coming from here, guys. I have added here active tab. So active tab, which is type going to be string, and inside this app, as you can see, I have passed here active tab, and here is the active tab is here. And after that, what we have to do, value, what will be the value? Value going to be project, and here is the break. So instead of adding the break, I would like to add here the return. Let's say here will be the project. I'm going to render this project over here. Oops, there we go. So after that, I'm going to add another case. Let's say for copy and paste it here. So the case going to be skill. Oops. And here I'm going to return skills, and we need to finally render here this function. So right now, as you can see, if I'm clicking here we can only, we need to save this component, and if I clicking, as you can see, this is our skill and this is our project. So nice looking animation. So let's go ahead this project folder, come, and I'm going to add here instead of skill, that's going to be, let's say, about, and which will be about. After that, as you can see, if I'm clicking about, as you can see, here is about. I'm going to add one more. There we go. Instead of about, here will be contact, and that's going to be contact. Oops. As you can see, guys, so clicking skill and clicking this project. So if I, so instead of just rendering skill here, we would like to render here the actual component, so that we need to create the actual component and import here. That will be very easy, right? So let's go ahead and create this skill component. So in order to create our skill component, what we have to do, inside this component folder, I'm going to create a file that's going to be, let's say, skill, and inside this skill folder I'm going to create a file that's gonna be, let's say, skill content.tsx, and inside this skill content.tsx I'm going to add a function that's gonna be our React function. So fc, and that's gonna be callback function, and inside this skill content I would like to add a class name. So that's gonna be, let's say, padding 6 max width. I'm going to add here for Excel. After that, mx, that's gonna be auto, and inside this I would like to add a h2. So h2 will be animating, since we are using motion, so it will be very easy to add. Oops, let's add here h2. That's going to be motion dot, so we get motion dot h2, and inside this tag I would like to add here animation. For example, initially that's gonna be opacity, let's say 0, and y, which will be -20, and when animate, I'm going to add here opacity, which will be 1, obviously, and y, that's going to be 0. And I'm going to add a class name, text, that's going to be to Excel, and font, that's going to be bold, and margin bottom, which will be 6. And inside this tag I would like to add here skills and expertise. If I save it, as you can see, nothing is there because I have to get a skill here. So inside this skill I need to get the skill component, skill content, which is coming from skill content. As you can see, here is the skill and expertise, right? So let's add here uppercase. Everything is uppercase, not uppercase. Capitalize. Now looks good. After adding skill and expertise, so we need to add the skill bar. So if I click here, as you can see, here is the skill bar, right? So front end, back end, and tools and others. So we need to create an array of object. So let's go ahead and try to create. In order to create, as you can see, here is the data folder. Inside this folder I would like to create another file that's going to be skill.ts, and inside this file I would like to add here skills. There's gonna be array, oops, export const, and inside this array I'm going to add an object, and that's gonna be category. Let's say Frontend, and inside this category I would like to add items, and which will be an array. And inside this item I'm going to add here the object, so name, let's say React, and with label which will be, let's say, 90. After that I would like to add another name, and that's gonna be TypeScript, and label which will be 85. So this way we're gonna be add two more. There we go, we have added here for React, TypeScript, Next.js, and Tailwind CSS for front-end category. And we are gonna be at the backend category. Just copy and paste it here. Instead of front-end, that's going to be backend, right? And also we need to change the name. That's going to be, here is the item, right? So let's change it, and as you can see we have added here backend category. And after that we are going to add the tools and others category. So here is the tools and others category. There we go. This looks so good. Also we can define here types. In order to define types, we need to go to the types folder. Here is the types folder. Inside this folder we can define here types. As you can see, here is the skills, category is string, item is name, here label is number, icon is string. So now we can easily get this skill. So here I'm going to add here skills, and that's going to be just like this, and which is coming from, there we go. So here is the error I'm getting, because here will be name label, right? So it's spelling mistake. So this is the cool feature of TypeScript, guys. You all know this thing. All right, our skill is done. Now what we have to do, after this h2, we need to add a skill which is coming from data and map. I'm going to map here. That's going to be a callback function, and inside this function I would like to add a div, and inside this div we're gonna be render all our skill. But here I'd like to add here skill group and group index. Then we are gonna be convert to motion, since we are using motions, right? And inside this h3 I'm going to render here skill group dot category, and there we go. If I go to skill, as you can see, here is the category, right? And we are gonna give style here, class name, that's going to be text excel. After that, font, that's gonna be semi bold, and then margin bottom, which will be 4, text gonna be blue 400. There you go, now looks good. After that, what we can do here, we can add some animation and some style. But before doing this thing, we need to show here skill item. So here is the skill item, guys. React, TypeScript, Next.js, and Tailwind CSS. To show what we have to do, we need to add another div class, and inside this div I'm going to add here a space, that's gonna be 4 y4, and then inside this, so is space y4, if you hover over, as you can see, here is the margin top, margin bottom. Dynamically they calculate everything. That's gonna be the responsive value, guys. So inside this div I would like to add here the skill group. So let's say skill group dot items. Since we get here skill group, So we are going to map. That's going to be a callback function, and we can add here skill and index, right? And there we go. And inside this, I would like to render here a skill bar. Before doing the rendering, we need to create another component, guys. So let's add here, so skill bar, right? And we need to create a component which will be skill bar here. Let's create a component skill bar dot tsx rfce const. That's going to be so functional component. After that, inside this, I would like to add here some sort of style. So let's add here margin bottom gonna be 4, and so we can add here h1 and something, and we need to get the skill bar, which is, so there we go. Skill bar is here. So if I save it, as you can see, JJ is rendering. So instead of J, we can add here, insert this skill bar. I'm going to add here key. That's going to be, let's say, skill dot name, and name which will be, let's say, skill dot name. And after that, oops, key skill dot name is skill dot name, and label, that's gonna be skill dot label. And why I'm getting an index, that's gonna be index. So type key string name string level number and index. So name does not exist on type, so we're getting TypeScript error. So let's go ahead and try to check where is the issue. So name, that's gonna be string. The type name gonna be string, and what we have added. So we see this error because we need to define here type. So let's define here type interface, and that's going to be, let's say, skill bar props, and inside this skill bar props, I'm going to add here name, that's gonna be a string, oops, and a label which will be a number. After that, I would like to add here index, that's going to be number as well. And now we are going to use the skill bar props over here. There we go. And after adding this thing, as you can see, error is gone. Now easily we can get a skill bar, name, label, and index. So we get name, label, index, and inside this is one, I'm going to add here is text. So we're going to add a div class name, and inside this div class name, I would like to add here is space y4. So this is a logically, you can add here margin top, margin bottom, and inside this I'm going to add here is span tag, and that's going to be name, and text, that's going to be, let's say, SM, and font, let's say medium, and text which will be gray 300. There we go. And instead of space y, I'm going to add here display flex justify, that's going to be center, skill not center, it's gonna be between, right? Why I'm adding here between? Because we need to add label here, and same, as you can see, to fix this thing we need to add justify between. As you can see, we have fixed this thing, now looks good. After that, what we have to do, we need to add here import motion, which is coming from motion React, and now we can easily use after this div, let's use motion dot div, and there we go. And inside this div, I'm going to add class name which will be ace 2.5 and bg, that's going to be gray 700 and rounded, let's say full rounded, not rounded. So as you can see, now looks good. I'm going to add here width, so initial width and animation. So as you can see, if I clicking scale, so animating, right? But we need to add the blue color as well. To add this blue color, what we have to do, we just need to copy and paste it over here, and this is going to be self-closing, guys. Remember, instead of gray, that's going to be blue, and this is going to be 500. And here we want to, if I save it, as you can see, and we want to add backtick, and after that I would like to add here, let's say label, and which will be percentage, guys. So right now, as you can see, it is working. So nice, cool, right? So we have completed our skill section. Now we are going to work this about section. So if you take a look this about section, as you can see, about me, to work this section we need to create a file. But if you take a look this design, so this design is very simple. So let's go ahead and try to create this design. So in order to create this design, what we have to do, inside this component folder, I'm going to create another folder which will be about, and inside this folder I'm going to create a file that's going to be about content.tsx. Inside this file I'm going to generate functional component that's gonna be a row function, and we can see here React.fc, and convert it an arrow function. And inside this function I would like to add a class name here that's gonna be p6 x with let's say 4xl mx, that's going to be auto. And inside this I'm going to add another div class. Inside this div I would like to add a class and background color which will be gray 800, and rounded, that's going to be full or LG. Padding, that's gonna be 6. There we go. And after that, inside this div I would like to add another ace2, and inside this ace2 I'm going to say about me, and inside this ace2 I would like to add some sort of style, let's say text to excel, a little bit big, font that's going to be bold, and after that margin bottom, let's say 4. If we go over about, as you can see, here is the about, so we cannot see. In order to see, what we have to do, we just need to go about, and here we need to get the from about content. Now as you can see, here is about me. So inside this about, what we have to do, so we just need to add import motion react, and now we can easily use motion here. So that's going to be motion dot, there we go. And since we have used motion here, we can add here animation and transition. Let's go ahead and try to add inside this div. As you can see, I have added here initially opacity 0 and animated, then which will be opacity 1 and y gonna be 0, and transition will be 0.5. After that, here is the ace2, and then we're going to add a p tag for, as you can see, here is the p tag we have added and some sort of style. After p tag I would like to add the experience option, so Here will be at the experience. As you can see, if you take a look here about experience, and then I would like to add another div, and which will be, let's say, here is the is2 div class name, and inside this div I'm going to add space y, gonna be 4, and margin bottom, which will be 6. There we go. And inside this div I would like to add div class name, that's going to be, let's say, border 1 2, and border gonna be blue, which will be 500, and heading left, that's going to be 4. Let's end up the div, and inside this div I'm going to add all my full stack senior full stack developer present p tag, and there we go. We have added here, but border is not working somehow. So border blue, border, there you go. No, as you can see now it is working. Border left, sorry, this is not gonna be 1, that's gonna be L. So border left going to be 2, and yeah, we are going to add same thing for another. So here is in the div, and after that I would like to add another div. As you can see, now looks good. And then we are going to add the contact, right? So let's go ahead and try to add contact. So here we go. We have added here GitHub from Lucid React, and LinkedIn, which will be Lucid React mail. Let's get it. And yeah, so error is gone, as you can see. So what we have done here, we have taken is1, there you go. So sorry, is3 contact, and here is the div, and inside this div I have a all for URL, as you can see. There you go. We can add here overflow hidden. So our about me section is done. Now we are going to work for this get in task section. So in order to work get in task section, what we have to do, so we just need to create a contact from, and just like this. So let's go ahead and try to create. To work these contacts, we need to create a folder inside this component. I'm going to create a folder that's going to be contact, and inside this contact I'm going to create a file that's gonna be contact content, create a functional component, and that's going to be callback function react function, and inside this function I'm going to create, let's add class name, and inside this class name I would like to add here before mx going to be with for excel, after that mx gonna be auto, and then we are going to add these two just like this, and we have to get motion from motion, guys. Oops. It's gonna be motion, and let is motion, and then we need to go content, and inside this switch statement, so let's say contact content, there we go. We have contact, as you can see, get in task is here. Nice looking animation. After that there will be two part, as you can see, for get two columns for big skin, as you can see, and for one skin there is a one column. To do that, what we have to do, we just need to create a div class, and inside this div I would like to add here display grid, and grid calls gonna be 1 initially, and md grid calls, that's going to be 2, Pretty simple. I do have a video about CSS grid. You can watch from my channel, or I'll give the link on card. You can find easily. Gap going to be 6, and inside this div I'm going to add another div, let's say, and that's going to be empty div, and I'm going to add motion and dot div. There we go. And inside this div, let's add some sort of style. For example, initially that's gonna be, so I'm going to add here opacity, which will be 0, and as we add previously, you already know, x gonna be -20, and when animated, right, then we just need to change the value. So opacity, what will be the opacity? That's gonna be 1, and x, which will be 0. We can add here transition like 0.2 and class name margin bottom 8, and inside this div we can add all our, let's say, p tag. So there we go. Here is the p tag, as you can see. Right after p tag, I would like to add all the city name and icons. To do this thing, let's add over here. So here is my div. Inside this div I have added here the city email. So let's say example mail.com. So email which is coming from Lucid React, right, and phone which is coming from Lucid React, and mapping which is coming from Lucid React. So as you can see, looks good, right? So not too hard to make this thing. After that, everything is done, right? We're gonna be take another div, and which will be div, let's say motion dot div, and there you go. Inside this div I would like to add the animation. This going to be our contact, right? So this div ended here, and this is our main div. So since this div ended here, we were going to add this div here. So here will be the contact from will be here. So let's create a contact from. Inside this contact, I would like to add here, inside this contact from .tsx, I'm going to add here arrow function. Let's convert it to an arrow function. So just like this, and here I'm going to say React functional component. Pretty simple. And inside this contact from, let's add here the count, and we can see here from data. So that's gonna be capital, and set from data. Oops. And here I'm going to add use state, right? Use state, and which will be just like this. And I'm going to add here name, which will be empty. After that, I would like to add here email, and that's gonna be empty. And then we can add here message, that's going to be empty. There we go. And we're going to create a function just for demo purpose, submit and handle submit. There we go. We have created, and then what we have to do inside this div, let's add the motion here. So we need to import motion, and which is coming from React. Motion React. There we go. And inside this div, I'm going to add here motion, and inside this motion, what we have to do, we just need to add the animation, guys, what we have done earlier. And also we have added here on submit. Here is the handle submit. And after that, I would like to add a class name. So let's add class name, and here I'm going to add here a space, y gonna be 6, and bg gram, let's say 800, and rounded, which will be lg. There we go. After that, inside this motion div, I'm going to add another empty div, and then inside this div I have to add a label. There we go. And html for name. So I also have a video about html from. You can learn all the attribute within very few minutes, so I'll give the link, or you can find the starting point from my channel. So that's going to be block, and text, that's gonna be sm, and font, which will be medium. There we go. And margin bottom, which will be 2. So this is going to be our label, and I'm going to give it here name. There we go. So now we have to get the contact from here, contact from, which is coming from contact from. As you can see, here is the name, looks like this. If you take a look here, yeah, and we can add the input there. After that, let's add an input, and that's gonna be self-closing. As you can see, guys, inside this input, I'm going to add here type. Our type going to be text. There we go. And after that, I would like to add ID, and ID, which will be name, and then I'm going to add the name, and name, that's gonna be name, right? And after that, I would like to add value, right? Value will be from data, which is coming from data, and from data dot name, and on change, that's going to be handle change. So here is the handle change, guys, and inside this handle change, I'm going to add a class name, and width, that's gonna be full. There we go. As you can see, here is the full width. After that, px going to be 3. So there we go. Now looks not so good. py gonna be 2, and bg, that's going to be gray 700, and rounded, which will be md, and yeah, border, and border gray, let's say 600. As you can see, now looks good. And I'm going to add the focus whenever it's focusing, so I'm going to add the border, which will be blue 500. Yeah, you can see whenever focusing, so border is there, and focus also ring 1. There we go. As you can see, guys, we have added here the focus color, and that's going to be required. There we go. Yeah, now looks good. Let's add another label. We're gonna be add similar label. So there we go. This label for email. So after that, I'm going to add another label, which will be for message, guys. There you go. This label for message. So we have a message here, but I think some style is missing here. So if you take a look here, margin top, margin bottom is there. Right, so but let's go to the big screen. As you can see, it's not looks good, so maybe here will be max width. So as you can see in big screen, now looks good, but here something is missing still. So let's go to the contact from. So we insert this contact from. I need to add here padding. As you can see, now looks good. Also, we have added here the button. So if you take a look here, so here is the button. We are gonna use here motion and scaling, class name, flex, item center, justify center, padding, margin, padding left, padding right, padding top, padding bottom, bg blue, text white, rounded mg. So you can post this video and copy these things, or I'll give the link on GitHub. You will find very easily. So our get in task section is done. As you can see, nice looking get in task section done. Right now everything is working, but if you take a look here, as you can see, explore option is still still available to work. So this section is very important, guys, how you can toggle this folder. So let's say if you hover over, as you can see, scaling and animating, right, the folder and file. So you can toggle the children as well, as you can see. So this section is very important and you can learn a lot of things by adding this section. So don't skip this video and follow this part particularly. It's very important, guys. So you will not find on YouTube this part particularly. So this is very important thing that you will learn within very few minutes. So to start this section, what we have to do, we just need to create another folder, right? So to work this explore option, as you can see, guys, here is my project. So whenever I'm selecting a particular folder, this folder is selecting, as you can see. And also there is a children folder, and children folder is toggling. So according to this folder, we need to create a file so that it will be easier for us. So let's create those files. So in order to create those files, as you can see inside this data folder, I have created a files.tsx file. This file is empty, guys. So what you have to do is just need to create a files just like this, and inside this file you need to type project files, and that's going to be project file, and which will be an array, and inside this array that's going to be an object, and you can define here the name. So that's going to be, let's say, project. So there we go. After that you can define the file types, right? So that's gonna be folder. After that you can define is open, whether it's true or false. So initially that going to be true, and we can define here children. That's gonna be an array, as you can see here. So if you take a look here, asset folder, this is our children of project folder. So inside the children we need to define array of object. So the first one, which will be name, and you can define here e-commerce.tsx, and then you can define here type, which will be the type, and you can see here file. After that you can define here language, you can define here TypeScript. There we go. And this way you can define 3 more folder. So get it and define. As you can see, I have a task manager and work, and then we need to define this asset, right? So in order to define this asset, what we have to do, inside this children we need to create an object, and we can define here name, and that's going to be, let's say, asset. After that, we can define here type as well, and that's gonna be folder. And then inside this asset, I would like to define children, what we did here, right? So here is the children that we need to define here as well, because it will be the similar, right? So as you can see, and children, that's going to be the preview one png, right? So we are gonna use object here, as you can see. So our project file is done. So if you take a look here, so the issue is, so we can define here all the type, right? So in order to define all types, let's create a file types. So inside this types index.tsx, so I can define here interface, as you can see, file items, name string, type file or folder, whether it's gonna be file or folder. Children, that's going to be file item, an array of object, and content, that's going to be string optional, is language gonna be string, is open, is boolean. So we have defined here file types. Now we can easily use these file types over here. So let's use it. So here is the file items, an array, and which is coming from types file item. There you go. We have used the most important thing here. So we define here file types for project, but we need to define file types for this skill as well. So to do this thing, we are gonna be follow the same method, guys, but we need to change a little bit, as you can see. So let's go ahead and try to do. So what we have to do, we just need to put it over here, this skill file. So if you compare this thing, as you can see, it is same. So we have added here children and everything, and we have added here object name asset folder, and we can name here backend instead of the asset, and that's going to be folder is open true, and we are using nested object over here. So I'll give the link on GitHub so you can copy and paste this file so that we can directly go in logic, right? So I would like to add file types for about as well. So let's go ahead and try to add about. So here you go. Here is the about file types, as you can see, about, and here is my children and the file types. And then I would like to add file types for contact us. There we go. And after that, what we have to do, we just need to determine, right, the which file I'm selecting here. So according to this file selecting, I would like to show the file types there. So we can use here. So export const get file structure. That's going to be our file structure, and we can define here active tab, and that's going to be a string. There we go. And after that, I would like to add here file items, and that's going to be an array. And afterward, that's going to be a callback function. There we go. So we just use here a switch statement. As you can see, guys, I'm using here switch statement. So we got an error because, let's explain it. So what we are doing here, we are trying to pass here active tab, right? So if active tab case is project, then we are return this project file, this file, right? If case is skill, then we return the skill files. If case is about, then we are return is about files. If case is contact, then we return contact file, or default that's going to be project file. This is the switch case mechanism we all know, right? So that is why we use here the get file structure. Right, now we can easily get file structure used to our project. So this file part is done. Let's go ahead explore. So where is the explore? There we go. Inside this file, since we are using here get file structure, so let's create a use state hook. So that's going to be, let's say, files. There we go. Set files and insert this hook use state, and inside this hook what we have to do, we just need to pass here get file structure, which is coming from data files, and inside this get file structure I'd like to pass active. There we go, and we need to define here interface. That's gonna be, let's say, explore, and active, that's going to be string. There we go. Let's use this interface here. So fc, there we go, and we have used here active tab, and also I need to define here file types. So file and item, there we go, we get it right, and it says agreement file item is assignable to parameter type file types. Let's define it. As you can see, our error is gone, so we have to pass here active tab as a props. There we go, and explore inside this app, we need to pass here active tab. There you go, that's going to be active tab. Now error should be gone. Our error is gone. Now we define here file types according to the active tab. After that, we can add another div for selecting file, right? So let's add another state here. I'm adding here and select file. Since we are selecting, as you can see, it is get style, right? So we want to give some style whenever anyone select any file. After that, I would like to use here use effect. So use effect to select the file. That's going to be cool. And inside this, there we go. So we can set here files. So set files, that's going to be get file structure, and we can see here active tab, and after that we can add here set selected file, which will be null, and when it will be trigger when I'm selecting the active tab, then it will trigger this use effect. There we go. Now we have a files here, since we define here get file structure, right? So also I'm going to write a function that's going to be, let's say, handle select file. So here is the file items and selected file, that's going to be file. Now our functionality is done almost. We need to show the files. In order to show files, so there you go, here is the explore div. Below this div, I would like to add another div class name, and that's going to be, so space y, that's gonna be 1. There we go, and inside this div I'm going to use map. So since we are storing all our files inside these files, as you can see, get a structure, store all files over this variable inside this state, so that we can easily map. So map, and that's gonna be, let's say, files. There's going to be a callback function. Inside this function, I would like to render another file tree. So that's going to be our file tree item component, right? So let's create a component that's going to be file tree. So here is the contact component. Give it a name, explore. Inside this explore folder, a file name going to be file3. Inside this explore, here we can define here something, but before adding here, let's add a functional component Arif cons, and that's gonna be React.fc. There we go, and we can define here component, and here we are gonna be received as a prop. So what we want to receive, so here we want to receive item, right? And the label also we are gonna be received on select and selected file. All right, so we receive for item here as a props, and we need to pass this for item from here, right? Insert this file tree item. Now we can pass here key, and key that's gonna be, let's say, file dot name. After that, I would like to define here item, that's going to be file. There we go. And after that, I would like to define here label, and that's gonna be 0. And after that, I would like to define here on select, and that's going to be, let's say, handle file select. There you go, this function. And after that, I would like to define here selected file, and that's going to be selected file. There we go. We have used all this state over here, selected file. All right, now this part is done for now. As you can see, we are getting TypeScript errors we have received here. So in order to fix this error, we need to define here interface. So interface, and that's going to be file 3 item props, and inside this interface, first one which will be item, and that's going to be file item. There you go. Oops, file items, which is coming from types, and the label which will be number. After that, on to goal, that's going to be a function, and on select, that's gonna be a function item and file items. And then finally we are going to use selected file, whether it will be the file item or null. So here we define the file item, right? So now we easily use these props over here, and as you can see, all error is gone from this file, right? So now what we have to do, inside this div, I'm going to add a class name, right? So this is our div, and let's use here motion as well. Import motion. So from, and we can say React motion, right? Sorry, there's gonna be motion, and here will be React. So motion dot div, and inside this div, I would like to add all the items on files. So let's add here file icons, as you can see, which is coming from Lucid React, and type, that's gonna be file.type, and name, that's gonna be name, and is open. We did not receive is open, right? After adding this thing, as you can see, here is the project, the name is project, right? And the file icon is here. So file icon and project is here. So for scale, the scale and file icon for about and contact is there, but we need to add a lot of things. So let's, now selecting is not working. Inside this div, I'm going to add a class. So let's add a class name, and inside this class name, so this is going to be, and let's say backtick, and initially that's gonna be flex, and items, that's going to be center. There you go. As you can see, now looks good. And py, that's gonna be 1, and px, which will be 2, as you can see. So now looks good. And cursor, that's going to be, let's say, pointer. And after that, I would like to add hover color. So whenever I'm hovering, so bg gray, let's say 700, that's going to be our color. As you can see, here is the project. So if you take a look here, so project nice looking. So we have added here 700, and then we can add here conditionally style. So if selected, right, someone is selecting, then we can add here style. So let's say is selected. So in order to show is selecting or not, what we have to do, we just need to create is selected, and that's going to be selected files dot name equal item dot name. Here we go. Now we can easily use is selected. Then we can define a style, and that's going to be bg gray 700. If not, then we can keep it empty. There we go. If I'm selecting, it is not working right now, so let's complete all the things. And also, as you can see, whenever I'm clicking here, guys, I can toggle this thing. So we need to write a toggle functionality as well. So let's go ahead and try to write, but inside this I'm going to add another style. So there we go. Here I'm going to add a style. So padding left and level, according to level we have added here padding left. And also I'm going to add while hover, as you can see we have added here transition. After that, I would like to add here icon. This is end of the files, and here I have added here items, so which is coming from items, right? Items type equal folder. Then we can add here file is open icon. If not, we can add the close icon. There you go. We cannot see right now. As you can see, here is the file open icon. So if file is opening, right? So just like this. So if you take a look here, the different file, as you can see, and for file you can see different icon. So we also need to add different icon. How we can do it later, but before we need to show all file and folders. So to show all files and folder, what we have to do, we just need to conditionally render something. So as you can see here, basically let's explain it. So item dot type equal folder, or item dot is open, item dot children, then we are gonna be show everything here, right? So which is coming from here. So we all know this thing. So item folder, item open, item children. Then we're going to add a div here, and that's going to be end, just like this. And inside this div, so oops, I'm going to write a function. So that's gonna be, let's say, item dot children dot map, and I'm going to map, right? And that's gonna be child, and this is going to be an callback function. And inside this callback function, I would like to return file tree item, and there we go. So you can see here, so missing following property item label on select and selected file. We need to add this 4 item. So let's add it. As you can see, guys, we have added here item label on select and selected. Those 4 item was missing. We have added here. If I save it, right? So as you can see, after save here, we can see all file and folder. So if I'm selecting, it is not working. So still we need to debugging. But if you take a look here, so here is toggling, right? And also selecting is working. but here it's not working. Also file icon is different, but to add file icon different, we have used here lucid react icon. We don't want to use lucid react icon, so we want to create a file that's gonna be file icon.tsx, and inside this file icon I would like to add all the logic. So particularly I'm going to paste a file and I'm going to explain to you guys so that you can understand. So what I have done here, I have received here type name and is open, which is coming from files. I have file 3 item, and here type name open, and I'm trying to put here if type is equal folder, then return is open and folder open. So here which is coming from folder open is lucid react, and here is the folder open. So after that I'm using here extension, so switch case to determine which extension we're using, right? So if file code, then we're using all the things according to this switch case statement. So if you take a look here, we have done the logic over here, and instead of just getting from lucid react in this file icon, which will come from files icon, there you go. Now if you take a look here, as you can see, now it is working. So same as we see, but toggling is not working. So if you don't understand what I have right here, so pause the video and try to understand. Initially I have created a component, right? And this component is receiving something. I'm passing here, so I'm pass here type name and is open. I'm passing here these 3 props, and these 3 props is receiving. Since we're receiving these 3 props, we need to define here interface, right? We define here interface. And now according to type, folder and file structure, I have added here whether it's folder type or file type. Then we can define here folder open and folder close thing. So right, and then we can define here extension name.split, so tsjs jsx. So we have defined all extension, and file code, file and file json or style. And here we have written for images, right? If case is svg, right? Case png, jpg, svg, then we return images, and if md, then we return another file. Otherwise we define here file. So the thing is, it depends on which file structure we are using. That is why we are using here extension like switch case. We are trying to give logic whether it is tsx, jsx, csx, json or other file type. So according to the file type, we have show here different file icon, right? So that is our logic, and we are trying to do inside these icon files. All right, so now we are going to write the logic. Let's go ahead and try to do. So right now file and folder is not toggling, so we need to write this toggle function. So if you take a look, this one, so this one is working, and which one basically we are working, and this is not toggling. So in order to write toggle function, what we have to do, so here is the explore, right? And inside this explore, below this effect, so let's go ahead and try to write a function. So that's gonna be toggle function, right? And I'm going to write here toggle function. So toggle, and we can say folder, and the toggle folder, this is going to be a callback function, and that's like this. And inside this function, I would like to add here target item. So target, that's going to be file item. There you go. And inside this function, I would like to initially update file. So let's update it. So we can write a function that's going to be update files just like this, and inside this we can add here items, and that's going to be file item just like this, and file items, and then we can add here file items, that's gonna be which is coming from file items, and then we can add here the callback function. So insert this function we can return, so let's say items, so these items, and I'm going to use map. There's gonna be a callback function once again, and inside this map I would like to use here item, and we can conditionally say if item is equal target item, there you go, and then we can return here finally. So I'm going to use spread operator item, and then is open, and then we can use not item dot is open. So, and after that I would like to update the file, so there we go, we can update the files this way. And finally what we have to do here is end, so here we can set files, so set files, that's going to be update files, and inside these update files I'm going to use files. That's it. So now we can use our toggle function over here. So on toggle, there's gonna be this function. So on toggle is not defined on the file tree. There we go. Here we have to define here, on toggle we define, and also we need to copy and paste instead of on select, that's gonna be on toggle. Save it, on toggle is here. Now we can use on toggle, this parameter accept on toggle but it's missing, so let's use it on toggle, that's going to be on toggle. There you go. After that still is not working because we need to add on click in order to work. So inside this div, so is selected is here. Here I'm going to add on click item dot type is a folder, then on toggle dot item and selected item. So item will be selected as you can see, and also toggling is working. So after adding on click here, so this is the functionality we have done finally. So that's it guys. If you like this video, just comments randomly, this will help me to reach more subscriber and more motivation, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.